Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you're doing okay. Going to read through the majority of this article here. There is a link in the description, and it is in regards to a tragedy. Yes, it is in regards to a tragedy. A Philadelphia police officer, has been charged with murder in the shooting of a 12-year-old boy. The boy is called Thomas T.J. Siderio, and the officer who's been fired from the role is called Edsaul Mendoza. And we will look through the details, but essentially there was a shooting. This guy, this 12-year-old, likely shot at a police vehicle, and Edsaul Mendoza chased after the boy. The boy either fell to the ground or dived to the ground, and the officer shot him, I believe, 3 times. We'll double check that in a second. I believe 3 times, and once in the back, and he died. Now, seemingly, the boy discarded a gun, which was found, give or take, 40 foot away. We'll double check through the details in a second. So he was armed, and it is believed by the investigators that it is likely, not definite, but likely, that Thomas T.J. Siderio did fire at the officers. But he's a sweet 12-year-old boy, right? Here he is. He looks like a sweet 12-year-old boy. Does he not? Doesn't he look like a sweet 12-year-old boy? Well, what about in this picture here? What about in this picture here, which you can see? What's that? That's a gun. What's that? That's another gun. His friend's got a gun too. What's that? That's an ankle monitor. What's that? That's the bird. What's that? That's the bird. So is he a sweet 12-year-old? Again, it's believed that he likely shot at the officers concerned. Is he a sweet 12-year-old boy? Or, forgive me, I'm going to say this, some of you are going to be offended by this, no doubt. Or is he a piece of shit? Is he a piece of shit? He's got a gun. He's got an ankle monitor. You know, his buddy's got a gun. I mean, they're not going to have legal gun permits, are they? They're acting like gangsters. He's acting like a gangster. He likely shot at officers. Do I feel sorry for this 12-year-old boy that got shot and killed by the officer? Not really. Not really. No, not really. He likely shot at officers. Fuck him. I feel sorry for the officer, Edsaul Mendoza. That's where I go. That's where my brain goes. Am I fully justified? Well, I don't really know. Let's have a look at the details and you can make up your own mind. A Philadelphia police officer who was fired for fatally shooting a 12-year-old unarmed boy in the back has been charged with murder. A grand jury charged Edsaul Mendoza with first-degree murder, third-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter, and possessing an instrument of crime in the March the 1st killing of the 12-year-old boy Thomas T.J. Siderio. And this happened in Philadelphia. We're going to have a look through the details of the event. This green text here is going to tell us what happened. 4 plainclothes officers, including the police officer Mendoza, were in an unmarked car in South Philadelphia when they pulled up to TJ and a 17-year-old. The district attorney's office said that the 4 officers gave inconsistent explanations for the stop, though though the district attorney said one reason given was because the youths were riding their bicycles the wrong way. Okay, so there's a question mark as to whether or not the officers were justified in speaking with these youths. The youths being TJ, the 12-year-old, and a 17-year-old. Were the police in the right to have spoken with them, or should they have just let them, ignored them? I mean, to me, the police were right. They had guns, or he had a gun, you know. They were doing criminal activity, so the police's judgment was right. Back to the article. TJ likely fired a shot at the police car about the same time officers activated the police lights, the district attorney said. Officer Mendoza got out of the car and began a tactically unsound foot chase for TJ, firing a total of 3 shots. The third bullet hit TJ, the 12-year-old, in the back and exited through his chest. So, of course, that's terrible. It involves the death of a 12-year-old. That's not a good thing. It's terrible. But the police officer was doing his job. He had been fired at. TJ likely fired a shot at the police car. You know? So, I don't know, man. You know, the police officers aren't heroes. They're not robots. Sorry, hang on. They are kind of heroes, but you know, they're not Supermen. They're not superheroes. They're not robots. They do get pumped with adrenaline. They are trained in a certain way to defend themselves, and they are trained to, I believe I'm right in saying there was a similar case in France very recently, a terrorist attack on the bridge Pont-Neuf, am I remembering that correctly? And one of the officers was arrested for murder for having shot a couple of the assailants that were running away that sped away after attempting to ram their car into a group of officers. It's kind of similar in several ways, but the police officers are trained to stop assailants, and this assailant was running away. So, I don't know, isn't it kind of normal for a police officer to fire? The district attorney said the shooting was captured on video viewed by grand jurors that shows the Officer Mendoza, firing the last shot after the boy, the 12-year-old, was effectively face down after either diving or falling to the ground. Officer Mendoza was half a car length away, just a few feet, when he fired the fatal shot. The district attorney said, "I find this very disturbing and very difficult to watch." And we've not seen that video. It hasn't been released to the public. If I were to watch that video, maybe my mind would change in an instant. But at this point in time, I've not seen it. I don't know. I just want to side with the police officer. I find that the police officers are doing an incredibly dangerous job. And I find that a punk kid, 12-year-old or whatever the age, that likely fires shots, bullets at police officers, I'm not going to feel too much sympathy for them. He had a gun. Here it says, a gun the prosecutor said TJ used to fire at the police car was found about 40 feet away from his body, which means he was unarmed when the officer shot him. Sure, it means he was unarmed, potentially. Let's say it means that. But it does mean that he did have a fucking gun and he likely shot at the police car. You know what I mean? Like, he's not an innocent party. He's not a sweet, innocent 12-year-old boy. He's a fucking scumbag who shot at police officers in all likelihood. He had a gun on him, but that he discarded whilst he was trying to run away from the police officers that he had just shot at. He's a little scumbag. TJ disposed of the firearm before the officer fired the last 2 shots, according to the district attorney. Officer Mendoza appeared to know that TJ was unarmed before he shot the boy. The video shows that the officer running towards TJ without fear of being shot, and also shows Officer Mendoza indicating to a fellow officer where the boy tossed the weapon. You know, again, look, I'm not smart enough to be able to process all of this information totally, and I've not seen the video. Maybe the district attorney is exactly right. Maybe this officer is an out-and-out child killer, and maybe he knowingly and purposefully killed an unarmed child after they had submitted and effectively surrendered. Maybe that is the case. If that is the case, I revoke and disavow this video. But my gut instinct is to side with the officer in the first instance. That's my gut instinct. Again, I'm rambling at this point. I'm going in circles. But for the reasons I mentioned a moment ago, the police officer had just been shot at. To me, it seems reasonable that they're going to chase the assailant. It seems brave of them to do so. It seems reasonable for them to shoot, is what I think. I'm not an expert. I don't know all of the things. I might be wrong. Maybe it's not reasonable to do that, but I kind of think it is. And it's unfortunate that it led to the death of this boy. And maybe the officer was very calm and calculated and cold-hearted in making his fatal shot. I don't know. I've not seen the video. But I would hope and expect that that isn't the case. I would hope and expect that the officer was just doing his job, just trying to protect the community. That's where my instinct would go. That's what would make sense to me. And it makes sense to me that this 12-year-old boy isn't innocent. He's a fucking little toe rag. He's got a gun, an illegal gun. He likely shot at officers. Fuck that little scumbag. Basically, I don't know. There's my thoughts. Maybe you find that grossly offensive, but if you do, please don't unsub. Don't unsub. Don't, come on. Don't unsub. Don't unsub. I'll change my mind if you don't unsub. Don't unsub. Just tell me in the comments. Just express your point of view to me, but also to others. And they will be looked at. I'll look at all of the comments. I reply to almost all of the comments. Even if I don't agree with your take on things. And I don't even mind if you're a little bit hostile, a little bit of hostility, nothing wrong with that. Quite understand these are very emotional topics. And you might be disgusted with my point of view. Here I am condoning potentially the murder of a 12-year-old boy. There's room to be disgusted at my thoughts. But all I'm doing is expressing my thoughts, which I've done. So I'll wrap things up at this point. Guys, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your contribution to the channel. Thank you for commenting. Like, comment, subscribe if you're happy to do that. Share the video as you see fit. And take care, guys, of yourselves and of your kids. If you have kids, please look after them. Don't allow them to slip into gang banging. Don't allow them to do that. If you've got a 12-year-old boy, make sure they don't have anything to do with gangbangers. Just pull them away. And if that means you have to be a helicopter mom, if that means you need to look at them, watch them like a hawk because of the dangers they face in your community, then that's what you need to do. So please, I don't mean to be too preachy. I'm just trying to, I don't know, wrap things up in a nice way, I guess. But take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, take care of your children, and let's try not to get shot by police officers, all right? I'm going to thank you for your time. Thanks.